Yo, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode 2 of Cards in Hand. We've got myself, the LATAM, the Luffy TV, all that good stuff, joined by my good friend Daniel, aka FTC Hobby. And I want to start off by saying that both of us wanted to upload and do a recording of this episode on Monday, but we weren't feeling very great. And I'm still not feeling very great.
Yeah.
But
hey, kudos to you for being a warrior, Ian. I mean, out here,
we're working.
Don't let everyone tell you you're not for the people out here, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's too much to talk about,
That's true too.
There's too much to talk about. Why not just fire it up? I got my trusty cough drops. We'll make it through.
You got this. I believe.
But we had 3 regionals happen this past weekend. And you and I had been messaging about it and kind of, chatting about it here or there. I've heard like a lot of, really exciting buzz about it because you know what? The biggest thing was that all 3 winners weren't red.
Which we like.
We like
that. We like that. And I don't want to, poo-poo the party already. They weren't the red winners, but red was there.
Red was
completely there and was in full presence. So yes, red did not take it at home.
Yeah.
However, after our discussion last week about is this gonna kind of set the tone going forward, we're starting to mount a little bit more evidence about red's establishment within this current meta, and we'll discuss that a little bit further. But yeah, to your point, no red winners.
No red winners, but there were plenty. It was a sea of red in the top 32, some of them top 16s that were reported. And, I just want to say a massive shout out to Eggman, over on Eggman's channel, because a lot of the statistics as well as a lot of the information that we get are from the amazing website that he has set up, eggmanevents.com. So if you want to,
I think we could make a whole podcast like just highlighting how what a saint that guy is for the community, and
absolutely
just huge tip of the hat to that man, because the work that he puts in and the things that he does to give us not just like you and I the information, but just put One Piece and other card games just like front and center to make his content easily accessible, easy digestible. I mean, I think anywhere from your beginner all the way up to your expert level, he just makes amazing content. And huge shout out to Eggman, man. What a great ambassador for One Piece.
Absolutely. I mean, because me personally, I'm trying to comb through Twitter to find where are the deck lists, who's got their matchups, who's posting stuff, right? And I'm looking, right. I'm searching, and then all of a sudden I see, oh sweet, Eggman uploaded his video. Let me go and check that out and see what the lists are looking like. And I mean, he's the go-to guy, so it's great to look over some of these placings as well as the event turnout. How we ended up having some of the brackets and overall, some of them being top 16 lists, top 32. I guess it mostly just kind of depends on, one, how many people were competing. 2, was it more or less just seeing the same thing over and over? I think that there's also I don't know if you've noticed, I thought this was pretty cool. He started including unique 7 and 2s, like,
Mm-hmm.
I thought was pretty interesting.
Actually, that's where I ran into that Monkey D. Luffy, the starter deck 8.
Okay.
That's what I was like, yo, what? Another Monkey D. Luffy. And we can address that when we go over that online. But I love that. It's like the the honorable mention type thing. It's really cool to see him highlight decks that we might have easily glanced over because they're not one of the top 3 or 4 popular decks. Right,
exactly. Yeah. And I guess speaking of these 3 events, so the winners exactly were Eustace Captain Kidd in Latin America. We also had in Europe, we had the OPO4 Doflamingo, green-purple Doflamingo.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I know you're happy about that one.
Absolutely. And I hope that I'm not mispronouncing the name, but excuse me if I am. But congratulations to Periar It might be Piriar, but
PDR, I
yeah,
think maybe.
Piriar or Periar.
That
Um,
sounds right.
yeah, congratulations to the Green Purple Dofi going 9-0 in EU
Mm-hmm.
for that. That was amazing. And then we
Mm-hmm.
also had North America Play TCG's online regional going to Holden Miller with his
Right.
Queen list,
Yes.
which was fantastic. I just love to see the diversity of, so many different decks taking some of these top placings. And
Mm-hmm.
out of the three events, was there one that you were particularly trying to go over first? Because I know there's all of them are exciting, but which one kind of caught your eye as to trying
Well,
to?
you know what? Let's just go over the home turf. We'll start with
Yeah,
the home turf in NA, and I can kind of. I mean, I actually
yeah,
this was one of the two regionals that I was able to sign up for this month.
that's right. You competed in
Um,
this one.
yeah, so I got some games in on this one. Didn't go great, didn't go terrible. I went 4-4 with Blue Croc.
Yeah.
I think the unfortunate thing for me, and this is, and to be completely transparent, this is my only second online regional, and
Oh, okay.
so I don't have as many reps with this level of game, this level of
Competition.
one exactly
Yeah.
than I would like. I mean, there's some good locals here and there that I can get some reps in, but I don't. This is still kind of a new scene for me. So going 4-4, it is what it is. I went with Blue Croc. I think the unfortunate thing about how my day went is I ran into 3 other Blue Crocs.
Ah, man.
And I'm like, and not to take away, I won one of them, lost 2. And not to take away from the opponents that I lost to, but Blue Croc Mirror just is, it feels like, all right, who's got more Mihawks?
Yeah.
Who has Miss All Sundays and who has Red Rock?
Yep.
And honestly, the first person to run out of one of those is usually the person that loses, right?
Yep.
And so, how much I want to weigh into the mirror matches. I should be winning those games. I'm not trying to leave myself an out. I should be winning those games. But it just feels like that mirror matchup more than others is just like, all right, do you have Mihawk this turn? Oh, cool, you do. All right, now do you have Red Rock this turn? Oh, I do. And it's
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
and like I said, it was one of these situations, and it's frustrating at times because I think that you think you're gonna get your Red Rock back, and then you play your Miss All Sunday, and they're like, oh yeah, 3,000 Worlds bottom deck. Say goodbye to your Red Rock,
Yep.
because if you don't have one in hand and you've got one sitting there in trash, it almost feels like that's just game at that point. You're just like, well, I'm not seeing that card unless I top deck it,
Yeah.
or
Gotta get lucky.
it's exactly. And if it's in life, you might be using the trigger. I mean, so like, it's a weird mirror. And it was really weird that I ran into. I want to say like 3 of my first 5 matches were Blue Croc.
Oh, really?
And
Really?
I'm just like, what is going on, right?
Yeah.
So,
I've had
yeah,
a similar experience to where what was I playing? I was playing I think I was playing oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the name of it. I was playing Smoker. Like, my God.
Okay.
I was playing Smoker, and I was like,
Mhm.
oh, the odds of me running into red, or not just red, Zoro specifically, right?
Yeah. Smoker's the worst matchup.
Yeah, worst matchup, right? So I was like, the
Yeah.
odds of me running into it, like, out of my 9 games, are probably like 3 or 4. Like, I'll probably
Right.
run into like 3 or 4, right?
Mhm.
7.
Jeez, man.
7.
Jeez.
I somehow won
Yeah.
5, right?
Okay.
Lost 2. But it was miserable. I was sitting there
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, and sometimes, that's just the way that the cookie crumbles as far as matchups are concerned.
Right.
So,
No, it's true. And I think
Yeah.
pardon me, part of the issue that the hard pill for me to swallow also on top of the Blue Croc mirror matches was I started off 3-0.
Oh, wow.
And on my 3rd match, I ran into a dude who was playing Law, who's actually like top 16 back in Niagara, back in like set 1 or set 2, top 32 a couple times.
yeah.
Had like he had the regional finalist playmat, that I'm like, oh man,
He's a big
and
deal.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, as you and I were saying, like sometimes coming into these card games is like, puppies in these card games.
Oh, yeah.
And you see these people that are well established and have actually done very well. And then I see he's playing a Law deck. I'm like, oof, But I came out with the victory. I got the dub against a guy who's a very good player who's playing arguably Croc's worst matchup. And so I that was my third match, and so I end that match and I'm 3-0, and I'm just like,
You're
is
feeling
this
good.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, like is this where I'm going? You know, X1, even X2. You know, like is this my time?
Yeah.
And then I go on to like go 1-2 on my next 3 matches, and I'm just like,
Oof.
oh, yeah. And so that's that's you're riding this high, and then you just kind of like you hit this bump, and you're running into blue croc, and it was just like I kind of
Dang, so were
it
your
was
next
tough.
3 matches all blue croc?
No, actually, one of the first 3 was a blue croc that I got the win on.
Oh, okay.
And again, like I'm not gonna pat myself on the back because I just literally just I had more Mihawks than him. And honestly, that's really what it came down to. The dude played the match like he did. Honestly, everything he played the match well. Was an experienced player himself, and it just doesn't feel like that's not that it's not earned, but it's just like damn. I really won because I have more Mihawks than this guy, you know. So
that's how I feel when I play the yellow mirror. It's terrible.
So one of the losses was a category loss, and I got absolutely washed. I mean, so his first life is, and it's not the people have different opinions on blue croc in the category. Some people think it's fine. I have a hard time with yellow personally in general against specifically category. I'm getting better at it, but I will say his first life was Perospero.
Just
his
a
second
great life.
His second life was Thunderbolt.
Oof.
His third life was Shirahoshi.
Oh.
His fourth life was Brule.
Oh.
And I'm just like, I mean, you win. Like,
yeah. It was fun playing,
like,
you know.
Exactly. So like, I got washed on that one, and I just chalked that up to just like Katakuri doing Katakuri things, right? Like, the thing about Katakuri is like that deck builds so much momentum when it hits triggers out of life like that it feels impossible at times to come back from. You know, it's just like not only you're getting all these plays out of life, but then you're playing cards from your hand, and it builds this so much momentum that it just feels like I just can't keep up with you, dude. Like there's nothing I can do to keep up with this. So
it's scary. It's scary.
It was,
but I think that sometimes when you're playing against yellow, you just kind of have to turn your brain off, and you just kind of have to go, well, they either have it or they don't,
right?
Yeah, it's like,
no,
that's how I've looked at that matchup now. But
yeah, and I used to get extremely triggered by it, like really salty about it, and now I'm just kind of like, brother, it is what it is. You like, and actually, someone I think you referred to it as like Catasino, like you know, like
Casino Curry, Catasino,
exactly, and like he literally hit the jackpot on that one, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, you hit the jackpot, you win, and
what are you gonna do?
So it is what it is. I'm not gonna beat myself up over too much over a loss like that, because I genuinely don't think there was too much that could be done in that particular situation. So
speaking of the crocodile, in this North American regional, second place went to a starter deck crocodile. So I just love to see that first and second place were Queen and Crocodile. And it looks as though, at least from what I've seen from a lot of these the crocodile decks that are topping and the lists that they're running, they're primarily going for that Pacifista route. I just think it's solid, super solid. And
well, it's that bridge, right? Like all of Croc's mid game is literally Centimaro Pacifista ability. That's literally what your mid game is.
Absolutely.
Like that's your transition to go into late game. And then once you've kind of like nestled into that late game situation, that's when you really start cooking with Croc. So
yeah, no matter what match, or let's say whatever deck I'm playing, if I'm playing against Croc, I know that one of my first priorities of the game is to try and remove Centimaro. If I don't have any removal, then I know that I'm just going to be dealing with a really annoying board the entire game. And it's tough. And I think that at first, initially, a lot of people weren't running this Pacifista blocker, the no counter. But then now I'm seeing more people running that, which I think is a phenomenal choice. As much as the 4-cost vanilla is great from the starter deck, that vanilla it's so potentially game winning. Like, just no matter what your matchup is, just getting down a 5K blocker is so nice. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's one that I have. It's a 2 of for my deck. I don't think I don't really think builds need any more than 2.
He's running
but
2.
It is nice. Like it's kind of like an oh crap button for me. Like
Yeah.
4/6 vanilla is not gonna do anything for me right now. I need a blocker, and
Yeah.
that's a blocker. I think blockers that can swing are such strong cards in One Piece in general. If you can swing with the blocker, like that's just an extremely valuable card in my opinion.
Sure.
And it being a stat line above 5k is nice. I mean, obviously it's not, there's no counter, so you're hoping you don't get it into your hand, or it's just sitting in your life. But no, it's a good build. I did take the I think a lot of blue crocs have moved. I've seen some still, but they take a Bartholomew Kuma.
Yeah.
I've taken it out of my deck. I still have seen a couple builds with it still, but I wasn't getting as much utility out of it as I had hoped. So it got removed out of my build.
I feel that. I mean, it's a situational card where if you have it, if you have it in hand, it's great. If you don't, it's a blocker. So that's the way that I look at it, is like it's a counter in hand, or it's just a normal blocker. And then if you have a pacifista in hand, though, it becomes a super good blocker, right?
Yes.
And that's where I like the card a lot personally, because it gives blue that ability to be pretty aggressive as well, because you can swing with the card and they're like, ah, man, like, do I remove it? You know, because like if I remove it, then he's just getting a card out of it.
Right.
But if I don't remove it, then he's, or excuse me, then if I don't remove it, then he's got a blocker the following turn, and then he ends up getting the card eventually. Anyways, it's a very annoying card.
It is. It's kind of like the way I look at it. It's almost like Sparrow or even like Magellan.
Yes.
You're almost getting like free swings out of it.
Yes.
Because your opponent is like, I don't want to give him search off of this card.
Yeah.
But or like I don't want to go down Don. If you're playing against Magellan, it's like I don't want to go down Don. So like you're basically like your opponent is just getting these repeated swings, and you're just sitting here like, oh, it's annoying. I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to kill this card, but I also don't like these free swings that my opponent's getting. So yeah, no, you're right. It's a good card in that regard for sure.
I agree, and I also did some digging. So like this final matchup was against this blue croc and queen, obviously in round 9. But Queen's matchups for the first 9 rounds were so first round apparently was sort of like a bye, like the opponent had to go, and they were like, I just want to get participation. So if you want to,
it happens a lot in regionals.
Oh, the first round, dude, it's happened to me like twice.
It happens.
First round, people are like, yeah, dude, you can just have it. I'm just showing up for.
It's always like first round too. So like you're getting mentally prepared. Like you're like,
all
right, just you're like going through your stuff and everything, and then you clock into your table and you're like, all right, man, I'm ready, man.
Yeah.
The guy shows up, he's like, hey man, how's your day? I got some good news for you. You're getting the win.
I'm going.
Like, all right. I mean, here I was ready to rock, and I'm not going to complain, but at the same time, I kind of want, we're here to play games.
Yeah,
and
we're here to play games. I agree. Yeah. But I mean, hey, a win's a win. So
win's a win.
Take that first round win, and then I guess second round he went into Law, third into another blue croc, and fourth round went into Katakuri. So very diverse first 4 rounds. And then from there, there was no diversity. Round 5 through 8, all Whitebeard. And so he won every single Whitebeard matchup. I think that's actually a pretty good matchup for Queen, honestly. Like Whitebeard has to like try and continuously swing aggressively into your life, and you have blockers easily in that list. You have a lot of 2K counters. The triggers, giving you block is really nice. Having Yamato for being able to heal the life, and as well as Mihawk to bottom deck those Luffy's. Luffy's definitely your biggest threat in that game. It's like you don't have enough to counter out of certain swings. They get you down to no life, and then they attach all to Luffy and go for game. That's scary. So that removal is what's super key, as well as, obviously the 3,000 Worlds and Red Rock. That just gets rid of everything. I mean, like, you're just bottom decking every single card. So it's more like once you get to that point of you can put down one of your 8 or 9 cost cards, you're just swinging for game pretty easy. It's like, cool.
And
you know?
that's where Whitebeard's weakness comes in, right? Past a certain turn, after you've made Whitebeard counter out X amount of time, for a couple turns,
Yeah.
that 12 card hand is now down to 5 or 6 cards.
Yeah.
And events have been spent, and I mean that's what this is Queen's specialty, right? She wears you, he wears you down,
Yeah.
and just constantly wears you down. And there comes a point, Whitebeard's life is very finite, right? Where it's just like he just no longer has, it's just not there anymore. And so I mean I think that's a tough one for Whitebeard, because like I said, there comes a point where those establishing those big bodies on board for Queen, he's swinging big into your life. You're having to counter out constantly, and there just comes a point where you just run out of gas as Whitebeard, and you just don't have it anymore. So
yeah, I think that's just they probably played those matchups exactly how we just talked about it. Using removal, playing the bigger cards on the later stage, and then getting the blockers mid game, and you're sitting there looking pretty. You don't even have to attack Whitebeard. They're KOing themselves for you, and you get the resources out of hand eventually, because you're just building this massive hand, or massive board, excuse me.
Right.
With these, cards that Whitebeard's not going to be able to remove. I mean, I guess you could argue that the 7-cost ace, lowering Katakuri and or Yamato and Mihawk maybe, but
yeah. I mean, when you think about those are still big. Even with Ace's effect on the -3Ks, you're still swinging up. Right?
Yeah,
like it's you're still working up to try and get those cards off the board. So Ace helps, but it's not by any means like the solution to getting those cards off the board.
Yeah, I think a really interesting card that they had, that I'm actually mad at myself for not even thinking about, it's a phenomenal choice, is the addition of the 0-cost event Gum Rain. I think the reason why that card is so cool is because I felt this problem when I was playing Queen on the sim, was I felt like there were so many situations where I would find myself with 3 counterless cards in hand or something like that.
Right.
And I can't counter out of the attack coming in to get to that sweet spot where I'm at, 4 with life and hand. And so it's like, if you have that Gum Rain, you can use that to discard one of those counterless cards, gets 2 cards out of your hand, puts you in that sweet spot. I think that's phenomenal. It
is. And
I'm mad I never thought about it.
No, well, you know what? I've come to realize now that those 0 costs that turn a dead card into 3K are becoming more and more prevalent. And it's just a good card. It's just a good card.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't looked at the Black Luffy deck that top, but I feel like that's a good card for Black Luffy.
Yeah. It runs
I feel
2
like
of those.
Okay, so and also what was the other one? We're seeing Zoro run the 0 cost.
Yep.
As well. So it feels like that 0 cost cards, no matter what color. I'm actually running them in my Blurple Kaido deck, because I have the same issue with Blurple Kaido. It's like, dude, I'm playing like, if I could just last one more turn.
Yeah.
One more turn. If I had the counter for one more turn, I feel like I'm there. And so I actually added those to my Blurple Kaido build, and it feels a lot better. It's just, and the other part is it's tough to read. It's extremely tough to read, because like, if you're leaving, first of all, for Queen specifically, you don't have the Dawn to leave Dawn up after your turn. There's just you're playing 9 costs, Katakuri, but then you're having to swing with leader. So like, there's no Dawn for you to use. That situation doesn't present itself.
And then they swing 2K, and you're like, hey, here's 3K over.
Yeah, exactly. And Black, you could say Shockwave, but anytime Black's leaving open 2 Dawn, you're saying you've got Shockwave. Yeah, exactly. And so you can kind of work your swings around that. But when there's no Dawn up, it's a guessing game, right? You're just like, how much counter do you really have in hand? Because I mean, you could have 2 of those. You could have 4 cards and 2 dead cards, and you've got and 2 of the Gum Rains, and you've got 6K counter right there.
6K counter. Yep.
Exactly. So
it's a tough one to play around, but I think it's a phenomenal for this list. I really like what they did with that, and I think that like you said, it's these 0 cost events are going to be prevalent in a lot of future decks. I think what's the only one that we're missing? We're missing this 0/1 in yellow and in green. I think those are the only ones that we're missing, because we do have red, blue, black, and purple now.
Right.
Yeah, so yellow and green are the only ones that are missing that 0 cost event, and they'll get it. You know,
they will. I mean, it seems like it's gonna. I mean, now that we've got them in 4 of the colors, it feels like it's just gonna be kind of a standard type counter for sure.
I like that. That's what they're kind of doing, is they're going with the idea of we should try and make something similar for every single list, right? So like the 2 cost plus 4K, 3 cost plus 6K, but then having their own unique effects that are relevant to the color that you're playing. I think that that's really interesting, and it's perfect, because that way they can try and make it more balanced. The tough part is that inherently some of them will be better. So like, for example, purple I think is arguably the best one in my opinion, because being able to well, you could say purple or black, right? Purple is like, you could just ramp a Dawn right there. You get to ramp a Dawn off getting it off trigger. Amazing, right? And then black, you actually get to KO a 1 cost or less and draw a card.
That's huge.
That's pretty dang good. You know,
anything drawing a card for black is like massive. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, but so yeah, we got Queen. So, and then it was into Crocodile. Now the third being Newgate. We had so let's kind of address the. It's not even an elephant in the room anymore. This thing is like, we've all acknowledged red being the thing, right?
Yeah.
Third place goes to Newgate. We had over 100 entrants, 103 Newgates.
Oh wow! Yeah, see that now. That's 20% of the whole. That's wild.
It is wild.
Yeah.
It is absolutely wild. I honestly, so last weekend, real quick.
Dang.
I wanted to say, last week I said, I think, and I want to kind of like, I'm not gonna rub it in my own face, but I want to make a note of it. I said last week that I think Queen is gonna be the one of like the newer cards that's gonna have kind of a recession in like how well Queen performs. I'm like, I think once Queen gets figured out,
Yeah.
Like,
okay. Wait a minute.
And then all of a sudden Queen comes out and wins in A. I'm like, okay, so maybe that wasn't quite. But I will say, now that Queen wins in A, maybe people will start teching as much as they can against the Queen. So,
dang.
But Newgate is. Yeah.
Look at you, man. You're over here like Nostradamus, just out here like predicting stuff, you know.
Hey, we'll see. So Charlotte Katakuri came in 80 and like 78, almost 80 peeps.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's not surprising. That's another one that's not surprising.
No, you know what is surprising though? And I think this is just because there is like a lack of understanding of how to play against Newgate as yellow, because no Katakuris are making it to the top. But
yeah, if I may
interject, and I'm sorry. If you play Katakuri, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say it how it is. Okay. What I have noticed is that a vast majority of the players that are playing at the top won't play Katakuri. The reason why is because the deck is just too much of a dice roll right now. It has become more solid, right? It does play better now into certain matchups.
More consistent.
It is more consistent now. However, it's just like the top players you can see are not running it, because it does have those moments where you're whiffing, you're completely bricking, like it is.
You're almost a vanilla deck.
You're not even doing anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And
I mean,
you just have to see certain key cards. You also have to see, like, you have to see certain triggers in order to have to build that one turn of momentum. That one turn of momentum can be game winning, you know?
It can.
And,
absolutely.
I think that people have realized that, it is a pretty luck heavy deck. So that's why I don't think that we've seen a lot of top players using it, but I could be wrong.
Well, it also has a very large presence of its natural predator. Coming in the third most frequent decks is Law with 70. It is, so Katakuri's at 78. Right behind it is Law, And Law into Katakuri and Law, that's not what Law wants, or excuse me, what Katakuri wants to see.
No.
So, depending on how many of these players ran into Laws, I would imagine they naturally, with that many Laws running around, you had to face Law at some point. And that's probably your toughest matchup. So, I think Law's kind of helping, as we were referring to like the ecosystem of things in last week's podcast.
Yeah.
I think Law is that Katakuri natural predator, right? That kind of keeps Katakuri in pretty good check. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So. It does. But there are answers now that Law's or excuse me, that Katakuri's been given to that Law matchup. Granted, it's not exactly like the easiest match, but it's winnable. And granted, I still think it's pretty Law favored, but it is winnable. So, and it just surprises me that with how many people I know play Katakuri, as well as how many people are against Katakuri and stuff like that. They're like, oh my God, Big Mom is so oppressive, all this other stuff. We don't see any of the top people playing it. And I almost wonder if it's because it's out of spite, or if it's simply because it's a very luck heavy deck. Like you got to see your triggers, you got to see your big top end cards at the right time, and if you don't, then it's like
I definitely think it's that, and I will say this, and then again, like I kind of need to go the Ian route here, and like Katakuri players, don't come at me here.
Yeah,
don't come at me. But I will say this, like, I think people that play at this level would much rather play Law, because going back to the matchup that you're referring Katakuri into Law, it is like Katakuri got tools to make that matchup a little bit better. But Law players, in my experience, are inherently smart card players. They really are. That's why they're playing Law, right? And so if you take that same person and you say, here's Katakuri, here's a Katakuri deck, here's a Law deck, at this level of competition, they're gonna choose Law because they trust their abilities and their skills to pilot the Law deck a lot more than quote unquote risking it with the luck of Katakuri. Like if you're gonna you want to go out on your shield, right? Like if I lose playing Law, then I'm playing a deck that I'm really good at, that I'm technical with. But if I lose playing Katakuri and it was just because I didn't hit the right triggers or something, like at this level of competition, I don't think players are willing to lose lose like that. Does that make sense?
No.
Like, do you you like, if I'm this good of a card player, I'm gonna play Law because it gives me, like, if I play things right, I've got a tremendous, it's up to me, the pilot, to play this deck correctly, and if I play it correctly, I will have success. Whereas Katakuri, you're surrendering some of that and giving it to the deck.
Yeah.
And I think
you're putting it in the hand.
Exactly. And I think players at this level, they want to take charge of this, right? They're like, this is my deck, I'm going to be in control of this. Whereas Katakuri, you're kind of surrendering that.
You're putting it up to a higher power.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Please.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, that's where like the separation comes in. Like why isn't Katakuri in top? And again, it's not to knock Katakuri players, but I think at the top level, people are gonna trust their ability and they're gonna go with Law, basically.
That's totally fair, and it makes sense. With a lot of these events, people have realized, hey, I want to try and do my best, and what are the strongest decks that have the best matchups? I think that OPO4 has been the biggest eye-opener for that. Is now it is very, very much so dependent on matchups, how well your games will go. I mean, you could be the best Law player, and then you get matched up against somebody that's playing Rebecca, and it's a pretty bad matchup. Honestly, it is still winnable for Law, because Law has been teching around for that now and preparing for Rebecca matches. But it's definitely a more uphill battle than it was in the past. So
it is.
I think that's where the difference collides. And but yeah, going into the Latin America regionals right here, we actually have Carlos in first place, who I got to do an amazing interview with, what was it, like
awesome,
a day or two ago.
Okay.
And it was funny. I told him, I said, dude, you're talking the whole time, okay? because I feel terrible right now. I was like, I'm gonna ask you very, very small questions,
Hey,
and you just answer. But
you know what?
he gave amazing information. Like,
Well, as someone who comes from a Hispanic and Latino family, bro, we have no problem talking for.
yeah,
It's like, hey,
yeah,
say less, bro.
yeah,
We got you, dude.
yeah. You
We got
hold
you.
my beer. I got this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, hold my cerveza, man. We got you.
Yeah. but Carlos ran the uses Captain Kidd, and I was like,
Mhm.
wow, okay. So what made you go?
Yeah.
What made you go with that list? And he said that no matter what the matchup was in the current meta, he said it felt as though a lot of decks are playing slower now, right? They're playing a bit
Mm-hmm.
slower. There's not
It
like
is.
this rush Zoro, like punch you in the face type meta,
Right.
right? So he plays this Captain Kidd, and he said basically I played it as the most aggressive style of play that I could, and
Okay.
he went for 9 rounds undefeated. His first round being Whitebeard, second round
Mm-hmm.
Whitebeard, third round Zoro, fourth round Whitebeard, fifth round Whitebeard, sixth round Ace,
Mm-hmm.
seventh round Law. So all the first 7 matches red, and
Yeah.
he just destroyed. And then
Yeah.
finally into round 8 plays up against Katakuri, and then
Mhm.
round 9 Rob Lucci, which I thought was very
Yeah.
interesting. So Rob
Yeah.
Lucci in the in the top there, I was like, all right, not bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, he played extremely well. Film package in the uses Captain Kidd, and
Naturally.
yeah, and he told me that the main decision with this deck was because of how wide it can go as quickly as possible.
Very quick.
And as soon as he was able to get this board built, it countered up against blue being able to remove. It countered up against red trying to fill up their board as well, because you were able to simultaneously counter out having your own board as big as theirs are. And yeah, he said that the leader ability towards the end of the game was what won him the match every single time.
I mean, this is something that I feel like we've known for a while now in terms of there is not a better leader. I mean, I can't think of a better leader right now that to close out games than Kid.
Yeah.
Like there really isn't. You're swinging what 12 twice, like 12 twice.
12-12, baby.
Yeah, man. I mean, for decks like Whitebeard that rely, I mean, I feel like Whitebeard towards the end of its last couple turns, it has like either Fosa or Chopper, and that's
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
one toothpick. It's that toothpick that is holding up the Whitebeard, right? And Kid just knocks it out the way and says, "Get out of here," and then swings again. I mean, that's Kid is it's why we see it in pre-release
Oh
all the
yeah,
time too.
it's
Like
one of the best leader abilities, bar none. I mean, it's strong.
very strong.
Yeah.
And to the point that you were saying, and when you include the film package, it's a lot to keep up with, man. It truly is. Like it almost feels like it's like the Zoro of that when back when Zoro was like the hyper aggro. It's just like it almost has that same kind of vibe to it, where it's like swing 5K with this, swing 6 with this, swing 5 with it, and it's just like, dude, I can't I can't keep up with it. And so it's no surprise. It is cool to see like in this different regions and their meta also. Unfortunately for this,
Yeah.
we don't have how many people entered with what leaders.
Yeah.
But we're looking at it, it still has kind of the same kind of vibe to it. I mean, you've got of the top 16, you've got Law. So no Katakuri with 3, so you can assume there's a decent amount of yellow going on. Newgate with 3,
Yeah.
so not nearly. It doesn't feel like it would be as prevalent. And then he's the one kid in the top 16.
Yeah.
Rob Lucci, Ace, and then Zoro. So
11 of the 16 are red.
Yeah.
11 of the 16 are red. That's a telltale sign that it's still strong over there. However,
It is.
they did have some others do pretty well. Like I really like to see that well, I like to see, but I also hate to see it, is that Katakuri, had some top placings, so 3 in the top 16, happy for that. As much as I give Katakuri, some shit, it's great. I think it's great to see diversity as well as, some of these decks that did get some treatment in OPO4, just being able to use that and kind of build off that for some of these events is fun.
No, I completely agree. And we were talking about these unique shout outs that that Eggman puts up. Unique 7 and 2s for this tournament.
Ooh.
Ignacio with a 7 and 2 Arlong.
Arlong. I see.
How cool is that?
That's
too?
actually really neat.
Yeah, it's really cool. Really cool. So so going back to Carlos, you know, like you know, obviously you'll be putting out a video and everyone's gonna tune in and watch that and go over that. But like, so what was his overall like thoughts on why was it just like, I'm just gonna go hyper aggro and see how this goes, or like what were his thoughts with that deck?
He said that initially he wanted to play Kid, but he didn't think that he was gonna do that well. And then he kind of like started swapping up some of the ratios for different cards, and he realized because he was, I believe he said that initially he was trying to run more of like a supernova package, but then went and realized, wait a minute, I can just run more of the supernova package with what is it? The film package with some supernova searchers, because both of them kind of collide. There's actually the 4-cost vanilla Zoro is both film and supernova. The 7-cost Luffy blocker is both film and supernova. So it was really interesting because he had, you know, the film search through Nami, but he also had Bonnie in the list because Bonnie was able to find his Luffy blocker. Zoro was able to find the 8-cost Captain Kidd. It was able to find Punk Gibson.
Nice.
There's a lot of really, really good synergy there. Like the search power was strong, as well as just being able to go as wide as possible on the board, and then go for a strong finish.
Nice. That makes sense to me. It's actually, I've been tinkering around with Isho, and I think a lot of the synergy is because that brand new search is Navy, and there's actually a good amount, not a good amount, but there's the package that I'm running actually has a lot of green Navy cards in it. And so it's nice to, like, to the point that he's making, it's nice when your searchers can pull from 2 different colors that are synergistic with one another. It's just like, okay, this now makes a lot more sense for me to run this package when I can all but guarantee I'm getting stuff off my searches, and they can be from either color. Like how cool is that? You know?
And Bonnie, I mean, just being able to search top 5 is like the odds of you missing are pretty low. But then also with Nami seeing the top 3, I believe I can't remember if this is the correct number, but I think it was something like 23 cards in his deck were film. But it might be. I think it was 23. But either way, Nami had a good opportunity of being able to hit a target as well. So, you know, looking through the top 3. But funny enough, the way he spoke to me about it was he said he didn't even really prioritize. He didn't even prioritize using the Nami search very much. He actually said that, you know, really where the strength lied in the deck was he basically took every single life for free, no matter what. Whenever they swung at him did not matter what amount, he said he took it for free. And I was like, that's interesting. And he said, the reason why was because at the end of the game, through Nami and through Bonnie, I would have this massive hand, right? And I would have this really massive board as well. So now they have to decide, do they go for life? Like, do they go for game or do they go for board? And if they make the mistake of going for game, and I have a Punk Gibson in hand, and I have like 10 cards worth of counter in hand, he was like, I'm just getting out of it easily. And then I have this massive board that just goes for game the turn after, swing with everything, and then swing 12 twice with leader, and I win.
That makes sense.
And I was like, wow, okay. It makes, So he would take all of his life, and then he would attack. He said that he would barely ever attack his opponent's board. It was mostly just going for their life to get them within that KO range to eventually use the leader ability. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what? Not I mean, you can speak to it, but it doesn't sound too unfamiliar from green purple Dofi. I mean, green purple Dofi's a little bit more sacky than that. You know, it's not the aggro. A little bit more sacky, but same thing. You know, I've got 12 cards in my hand. I've got Dawn up.
It's a great day to be a Dofi fan, you know.
Yeah, right. I've used my Luffy into Uta. Like you know, like I've built a decent board.
Yep.
And
like swing at me, bro.
Well, exactly. And it puts the pressure on your opponent. And this sounds like a simple thing to say, but like the idea being, I'm putting the pressure on my opponent to make the right decision. And if they don't, then I just. Like, should you be trying to clear my board right now? Oh no, you're swinging for life. Oh well, good luck. You know, like, like good luck with that. And then the crackback comes, and like it's just game. Or it's like, should I be trying to clear board? Oh, you know what? Swinging into Uta was not the best idea.
Yeah.
I'm countering at it. You know, just so like it's when you the nice thing about that is like when you have that many cards in your hand towards the end of the game, you have a tremendous amount of flexibility, right?
Yeah.
Like. It's like you now have the game kind of under control in the sense that depending on what my opponent does, whether it's life or clearing board, I have the flexibility to work around that, you know? And so having that many options, that many cards in hand with, you know, in Dofi's case, having at least two Dawn up at the end of your turn at a minimum, sometimes 4, even 6 Dawn up sometimes. I mean, like it just provides. So now I'm reacting off what my opponent is doing, and now he's swinging into, you know, Luffy or something, and I'm like, nah, I'm not going to give that card up. So like it just allows a tremendous amount of flexibility, which makes for a strong gameplay, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And I mean, speaking of Dofi, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look at these EU placings right here. First place, Doflamingo. I mean,
I know you're happy.
I'm stoked, man. I'm the only thing though is that this is and no hard feelings to the guy that won, because obviously he's cooking something that I'm not fully aware of yet. I think his list is so interesting. I don't know, as somebody that has played Green Purple Dofi a lot and has really gotten into how this match works and how the deck plays, his list baffles me a little bit. And I really like it, but I also just wonder why on certain things. I'd love to be able to eventually chat with him about it, because he runs a very interesting list. He runs 2 Hell's Judgments, right? Which I thought was really interesting, because that takes you away from getting closer to that 10 drop, drop Doflamingo. Right. He also does not run Guild Tesoro, and I'm like,
that's the one.
What?
That's the one, because like I was mentioning to you, like outside of Luffy, your blocker Luffy, it feels like Guild Tesoro is like a staple within that deck list, right? Like that is like, you know, I was telling you, as a blue Croc player, I hold my 3,000 Worlds for when Guild comes out, because I can pretty much guarantee that if it's in hand, that card's gonna get played like immediately.
You know, maybe it was just a great meta call. Maybe because of you, exactly the way that you thought and the way that I would think as well. Like, okay, Guild's coming down. You know, it's probably coming around here. This is what I need to play around. No, everyone's thinking about it, but he never played it. You know,
that's fair. And honestly, like I did the same thing. I remember the 2-drop Garp in Smoker. I loved that card. I loved it.
Yeah.
But there came a point where I just gave up playing the card. I'm just like, dude, I never get to use this card ever.
Yeah.
I never get to use it. It gets swallowed up by Vistas back when like Vistas were prevalent like everywhere.
Vista Marco.
It got ate up all the time. And it just did and then, well, even before, it was. So like I get the sentiment of like, why do I have this card in my deck when I'm just don't get to utilize it? It just like, well, like I get it, but like the opposite of that is like when I do get to play this card, that card is an amazing card.
Oh yeah.
So I mean,
use that in combination with Kuzan, you know.
But you know, the cojones on this guy to say, you know what, I don't need Guild Tesoro in this build. I mean, hats off to him for making that work, man.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I mean, to me, like, I'm not somebody that would say you need to run 4 of. I personally, I run 3, but I could see running 2. I've actually considered running 2, because sometimes it's kind of a brick in hand, and if you're playing up against blue, it's just terrible card to have because you're like, dang it, they're just gonna remove it, and I just paid 5 Dawn for what? You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's one of those cards that I personally think is a minimum at least one. You know, and, and this man said no.
No, not
nay.
even.
Get that out of my face.
I have been seeing more builds with 2 of, and I can get with 2 of, because for all the reasons we just listed, why not use that other slot for a card that's gonna actually have more playability? And I completely understand that, so it makes sense.
Yeah,
but you know,
it's interesting.
It is. It is, and I kind of want to highlight your boy Dofi, because between the EU, Dofi had 56 people.
Ooh.
And North America, Dofi had 66 people. So these are big numbers.
That's awesome.
Yeah, these are big numbers for a new leader. You and I were discussing last podcast, like, going forward, what is going to be the leader of set 4 that probably has the most potential of clinging onto the scene. And while Dofi, while Queen goes on to win the NA one, we're seeing Dofi have a real presence and doing well, doing really well in NA. There was one finish. I want to say the regional before that, there was another Dofi that got top 16 as well. So yeah, I mean, Dofi seems like it's a very viable, strong character right now.
I think people are sleeping on it. Yeah, I think people are sleeping on the leader. I wouldn't say sleeping on the leader, but I think that I'll just put it this way. I think that a lot of the top players are, the people that are consistently getting top 32, top 16s, right, haven't considered Dofi just yet, simply because Dofi has bad matchups into blue, but otherwise, man, I tell you what, I just put out this profile video the other day that it's like, the yellow matchup really does feel like a very free matchup. It's you take your life and you're just immediately just swinging 5 with everything that you have on board. But the Whitebeard matchup also feels winnable because you have stuff like Queen, Guild Tesoro, you have the Luffy, you have the ability to restand your blockers. It's and then that Doflamingo at the end of the game can just be game winning.
Doflamingo is a game winning card, 100%.
Yeah. 100%. Especially into matches like Queen, Newgate. Those matches are just so strong, as well as Katakuri. But Katakuri is like a kind of depends situation, because giving them that extra turn can actually be detrimental sometimes. Like, you really just want to whittle them down. But sometimes that Doflamingo can be really, really incredible situationally into Katakuri.
Well, the impression that I get with the deck is that it just feels I've played it maybe a handful of times and it felt nice, but the impression that I'm getting is that it just is a very balanced deck, right? Like, you've got good search ability, you've got a lot of cards in your hand towards the end of the game, like we were just discussing. You've got what I was mentioning earlier, a very strong cards in this game are blockers that can swing. And you've got blockers that can swing like crazy on that.
And then just be restood with Spider's Web. So,
oh man, that Spider's Web is oh my gosh. When you have Spider's Web with Luffy, I'm like, wait, like,
bro,
sometimes
how's that
I get
fair?
hit with that. Yeah, no, I know. I get hit with that. I'm just like, I'm literally staring like, how?
Yeah.
Like, how? Like, it's just crazy. So yeah, I mean, and then when you establish Luffy, you're at a minimum having to swing over a 7K blocker. Like, that is that is big, man.
Oh, it's rough.
Yeah.
And the beauty is like, if it's active, right, it's essentially like an 11K blocker. Because you can just, rest it and then use event, either rest a card, ramp up a Dawn, or restand the Luffy again. It's so strong. It's so strong.
Well, and then Uta's kind of like a built-in Punk Gibson also, right? It's just like, Uta being able to rest your was it 5 cost or less?
Five or less, yeah.
Dude, Uta is resting big cards too. It's like a Punk Gibson that's on board that in a need can swing into your life also. Like, And that's actually, like I mentioned, I've been messing with Isho, and like being able to restand at the end of a turn has been nice when you've got these blockers that these blockers that you swing with,
Mm-hmm.
and then you just prop them back up at the end of the turn. It's like swing block, swing block, swing block, and it's like,
Yeah.
dude, it's a strong mechanic in the game, and
Oh, 100%.
and I think that's, I think that's where Dofi, I think, kind of shines, is having these blockers that can work damn well as offensive cards as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting in OPO 5 to see whether Green Purple Dofi stays into the film package, or if it starts to transform into the Don Quixote Doflamingo package, because you're getting an actual searcher, not like a counter card, ridiculous counter card. You're getting an actual searcher. You're getting that'll put a body on the board. You're getting multiple like Don Quixote upgrades to the list as well, that I think are going to be really interesting. And it makes cards like what's that card called? Treble. I think it's like the 6K no counter, 6,000 power or something.
Yeah.
But cards like that, as well as Diamante, might become really exciting in Green Purple Dofi. It might not be the film package that a lot of people were really used to, but you would still see like a sprinkle of that, some of those purple characters in there, such as like Queen and Uta, because those blockers are invaluable. But then you just get like the Doflamingo characters, and then you get a little bit of the events that are coming out. I know people are kind of on the fence about how they feel about the stage card. Have you heard about that?
I haven't, no.
So there's this really crazy stage card that's coming out in OPO 5. This is why I'm really trying to get into Dofi right now and to figure it out, because I feel like Dofi looks really cool in future sets because of this stage card. So I can't remember exactly how it reads, but it's something along the lines of like, it's a 5-cost stage card, and it says any character that's 5 cost or less can't attack or something like that, or like they can't attack or something. And then once you get to 10 Dawn, though, you trash that stage card. And then I think
remember
there's something else that happens, but it's a very interesting card. It stops like low to the ground decks, and it allows you to just build this massive board and then play the game. You know what I mean? And it's a very cool, I don't know, it's a cool idea. I like the idea of it. So
I mean, that'd be cool. Like green it's nice to see green have these cool cards. And I think, to your point, like when you read Treball and Diamante, like when you read the card, you're like, there's something there with those cards, right? Like there's strong abilities within those cards. And so it's like it kind of makes sense. It's kind of like the way that Miss All Sunday kind of all of a sudden popped up, even though she's set 1. Like when you read the card and you're like, you know what, that's a good ability. And so it's no surprise why, like 3 sets later, like now this card's getting recycled into the current meta, because it always had a strong ability. It was just a matter of incorporating that ability into the deck.
Do you know why it wasn't really played that much? Is because there was only one good blue deck, and that was the OPO1 Doflamingo. That was it for the longest time, and there weren't very many blue event cards that were good, right?
That's true.
And then eventually you get to this point where you're like, oh, what? Now we've got 3,000 worlds, baby. We got Red Rock. We got Dragon Twister, Love Beam. It's all gravy, baby. And like it's crazy good now. The value is so there. I think that's probably going to be a staple in so many decks for the future.
It feels that way because, like you're saying, the cards that you're going back and retrieving are just huge cards, man. Like, and being able just to recycle those cards over and over and over is just insane.
Absolutely insane. But
so real quick before we kind of wrap things up, so let's just mesh all these 3 regionals together. Let's just combine it all together.
Bam.
And just kind of give a thoughts on what we're seeing. Kind of, I know each region has their own meta, and like they have more popular decks than others, and so on and so forth. But how do you feel? This is now, we're a few weeks into '04, and I feel like things are starting to kind of, the dust is starting to settle a little bit, and
Yep.
you were always going to have new spice coming in on the scene. So, but generally speaking, what are your thoughts about where we're at with step 4?
Thought process is that first week when we did our first episode, I was scared. If I'm gonna be honest, I was scared. I was like, oh man, you gotta be kidding me. Is this about to be a boring set 4 again? Like, this is crazy. And then this was like a breath of fresh air. I saw what did I watch? I think I watched the Queen player win. I watched Queen win, right? Because I was able to watch that one. I wasn't able to watch the Latin America or the European, or was it the European? Yes, the European regionals. But just seeing Queen win, I was like, oh, that's awesome, man. And then I heard, it was like, I'm in some, Discords, but also like some Facebook groups, and people were like, oh my God, Doflamingo won. I was like, what? Yeah. Then Kid won. I was like, what? so it was such a good feeling to see that, and to get just a nice breath of fresh air, seeing some decks topping that, like Lucci in second place on one of these. I mean, that's amazing.
It is.
I love to see that.
You and me both, man. Yeah. And I'm right there with you, honestly. It is really nice. It is a breath of fresh air, and I think also it's nice to see like new leaders, right?
Yeah.
And we had mentioned this, like I throw Croc in as a new leader as well. So you've got decks like Croc.
Yeah, he is a new leader.
Yeah, I mean, not a new leader, but
no, he basically is.
Basically is, for all intents and purposes. He's a new leader.
That man's never been played before.
No. So you've got decks like Croc, and you've got decks like Queen. You've got green, purple Dofi that are all now for 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah,
have been made a presence, right? Yeah. So it kind of feels like they're somewhat starting to cement themselves within the meta, and so there's gonna be this more diverse, population of top 32s, and I think Whitebeard, from what I understand, Whitebeard pretty much dies in set 5, so I don't think we don't have to worry too much about Whitebeard, but I'd have to look more into that.
From what I've seen, it looks like Purple Luffy just kind of destroys it.
Right.
So I mean, you could still run Whitebeard, but if you get matched up against Purple Luffy, you're more than likely just going to lose.
I got you. And I also feel like the more that Whitebeard is being played, and I know we've been at this for a while in terms of like trying to beat Whitebeard, but it feels like the more that it's winning, the more people are like, all right, well, like, let's get this bum out of here, right? So they're starting to build, they're starting to play different, they're starting to build stuff. They're like, dude, we got it. And so there's more of a conceited effort, right, to be like, dude, like, get him out.
This guy's got to go.
This guy's got to go. Like, we got to bounce him out of here, man. So it does feel like that's going to be the case. How successful that's actually going to be, I don't know. Yeah. Because just the deck is just like insanely consistent and strong. But I'm right there with you, man. Like I'm just it's cool, man. Like when you go on YouTube and you literally just Google like One Piece TCG, it's just cool to see how many people are playing and part of it's like we're getting new leaders every set, so I get that's part of it. But like you can find leaders, games with leaders like all across the board playing. It's just the amount of diversity that we're seeing is really, really cool, and I completely wholeheartedly agree. It's a breath of fresh air for sure.
It is. Let it continue.
Yes, sir.
Let it continue. I'm excited because I've got some regionals coming up on 21st and the 28th. I think you and I are in the 28th one.
28th, yeah,
28th. So that'll be fun. I think we're gonna be definitely enjoying some of our matches, and hopefully not meeting one another until the finals.
Until the finals. I was gonna say I wouldn't mind. It's sad because you and I have yet to get in a game in yet, so like it would be actually hilarious.
We're about to get off here and
imagine our first time playing a game against each other and we bump into each other.
Oh, imagine! That'd be hilarious.
That would actually be funny. Yeah. That would actually be funny. So,
well, that's probably just gonna wrap up episode 2 here for us, and excited for the future regionals, guys, as well as some of the upcoming why am I forgetting the name of it? Starter decks. We got Starter Deck 10.
Yeah, you got starter deck.
Yep, Starter Deck 10 Ultimate Starter Deck
Mm-hmm.
coming out in what, like a month from now? It's
A month, and we've also
yeah.
got an offline regional in Dallas the first weekend in November
Oh,
as
really?
well.
Oh.
So if people did not make any of the online regionals, I want to say you can still make it happen in Dallas. Don't take my word on that, but yeah, we've got a big offline in Dallas the first weekend in November too. So I mean, between October and November, we are packed full of
Yeah.
One Piece goodness. So.
Why couldn't my friend get married in November? You know, because he's getting married in Dallas in December, and I'm like, oh man.
Oh man, yeah, I've got all my Pokemon friends. So that weekend is actually coincides with a Collecticon down in Houston.
Okay.
And I've got my Pokemon family, people that are flying in from California and Georgia and all these places that are all going to be getting together. And I'm like, my first real opportunity, because Tulsa, I wasn't able to make Tulsa because it was just too late, and I just couldn't make that happen. But Dallas is a 3-hour drive, completely that's feasible
That's
for
so
me.
doable.
And unfortunately, plans were made for Collecticon way in advance, and I'm like, why? Like, could you not just knock it 1 weekend behind Collecticon? Like, I've yet to do an offline regional, and it's literally like down the highway from me. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I just wanna play. So
that's brutal, man. Well,
all right, guys.
Yep, we're gonna wrap it up, and you know what? We definitely got to wrap it up though with where people can find us, and where can people find you on the social medias, my friend?
The media that be social. I am most active on Twitter at FTC_hobby. The meme machine, as Ian likes to say. Just having a fun time cutting up. If you're into, I do a lot of One Piece on there. I'm also big into Pokemon, so if you enjoy Pokemon, you can also head on over there. I enjoy both TCGs a tremendous amount, as you can see by the background.
Yeah, shiny cardboard.
Yeah, YouTube is the same thing. FTC Hobby. Twitch FTC_hobby. Yeah, that's where I be.
Awesome, man. And then yeah, you guys, you can find me. I will have all the socials right over here for everyone to see, but just on YouTube as TheLuffyTCG, on Twitch as TheLuffyTV, and on Twitter as well as TheLuffyTV. I was trying to, you know what I've done is it's TheLuffyTCG TV, and then I have TheLuffyIG for Instagram. I wanted something for Twitter, but what do I do now? TheLuffyX. I don't know. I don't know.
Oh man, Twitter is quite the place.
Yeah, we'll figure that one out for next time.
We'll get it all figured out. We'll get it figured out.
Thank you for watching, guys. And yeah, if y'all enjoy, be sure to leave a like, stay subscribed, and we'll definitely have some more coming out in the near future. Other than that, hope you have a wonderful day. Stay blessed.
Yep.
Peace.
Peace.